using the ID test. The program list is empty, so click on New Program. The first program that we are going to define is one that uses only pulse, without preconditioning or post-conditioning. That means that is the user that will place the cell between the electrode of the fusion chamber manually. So first of all, we have to decide the way of working of the pedal. This is the icon of the pedal. So we can use the first mode press. This works in this way. When you press, as soon you press the pedal, start the pulse. The other one that is preferred by a researcher is the second, mode 0 on release. That means when you click on this, the pulse starts exactly when you release the pedal. Now, in this way, in the time you keep pressed the pedal, you may adjust the cell between the electrode and release the pedal when you are ready to um, release the pulses. So, for example, define the number of pulses. The number of pulses is a number that may be large as 10. So, for example, define 3. Then pulse width is specified in this icon. Is the duration of the pulse. Normally it is used 30, 40, that depends. But you can grow up to 1 millisecond. So you can use this, or you can modify with this button, or write exactly the number that you want. The delay between a pulse and the second, or the following, in this case between the first and the second, and between the second and the third, is specified here. So, for example, let's put here 100 milliseconds. The voltages, the minimum voltage is 13, but you can go up to 300 of voltages. Let's specify, for example, 120. So click on Save. Now you have to enter the name of the recipe. That means it is better that you specify here what you use for this recipe. In this tutorial I put only something that we can check later on the Zot. So is a recipe with only pulse, three pulse, 120 volt. Okay. Say that the record is saved. I click on OK, and you can see here there are the name and the time we define the recipe. So we can export now the recipe. Before to do that, is better that we check if there are something in the download. No, there are not. No, nothing. So it is better. So you will have at the end of this process only the recipe that you have downloaded, from the web. So click on web, and you see that this is the name given by the application. So you can recognize later in the download directory the recipe, because there is the name that you give to the recipe. Now we can start here to make a new. You can change the data if you want and save again the recipe or save with another name. So you have all the possibility. Now let's start with a new program. In this program, we want to use preconditioning and also post conditioning at the end. Now, the preconditioning is supposed to be able to align the cell between the electrode or the fusion chamber. No? There are something that prefer the mode with only pulse. Somebody prefer to have this done automatically. Uh, the mode 2, the mode 1 start when you have to push the button, the pedal 2 times. One, when you want to run the preconditioning, and the second time when you want to release the pulse. If you use the mode 2, you can modify the minimum time defined for the preconditioning, leaving present the pedal until the alignment of the cell is good for you. Then you release the pedal and you press again when you want to deliver the pulse. So specify here, for example, 5 seconds. So 5 seconds is the minimum time that the preconditioning will take. So if you, for example, release the pedal before 5 seconds, it continues until the 5 seconds are completed. You can specify here the initial value of the voltages. No? It specifies in percentage respect the voltages peak to peak that you want to use. For example, here the maximum voltages specify is 12.4. So, for example, we specify 10. If we specify 10% here, that means that it starts with 1 voltage peak to peak. The frequency is a sinusoidal, and here you can specify the frequencies. You can go up to 2000 of kilohertz, that means 2 megahertz. So let's specify, for example, 500. We have seen in the previous tutorial how to set this. Let's make something of different just to see the difference when we charge this recipe into Zot. This is, for example, to here the delay may be set very long. That depends on you. So, for example, we specify here 200. And here also specify something of bigger. Here, in the post condition, the time is dependent on what you set on the recipe. So, for example, set 10 seconds and cannot modify. As in the preconditioning, the end percentage is the voltages at the end of this 10 seconds that you want to have um, in the voltages of conditioning. No, so uh, if you specify, for example, 10 here, here specify 600 of kilohertz, and here specify 10 voltage as the preconditioning. At the end, for example, we have 20. At the end of the 10 second, you will have two voltages peak to peak of voltage conditioning across the electrode of the chamber. No? So save this, enter a name that specify the meaning of this recipe. We put a name that is something that we have put in the parameter. For example, is pre-conditioning, free pulse, post-conditioning, mode 2. Save, break of save, and export the recipe for the SD card. Now, we can go up to the program list and we see that now we have two programs, the one that we have make. You, if you log out and re-enter again, the test, you see that you can the recipe that we have done before are saved, and we can select one and open, and you will find the same parameter that I have defined before. In this case, you can modify some parameter and save again, or save as another name for another use. Of course, you can delete also a program that you do not want to use anymore. Okay.